And a good morning to you. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Art Lewis Show. We're going to revisit the history of the Saginaw Gears Hockey Club this morning. And returning for another visit is a man who wrote the book about it. Wes Olszewski is with us this morning. And Wes, first of all, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What in the world led you to write a book about the Saginaw Gears?
Well, actually, that just came up a few days ago, and it was my wife's idea. I originally had a website called SaginawGears.com that was on a Yahoo platform, and I ran that for 20 years. And in the process, gathered a lot of information and facts. I'm an author by trade, and after I got out of airline flying. So, as an author and historian, I like to...
Pilot?
Oh, yeah.
Ah.
Oh, yes. I hold a bachelor's degree in aeronautical science from the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach, Florida. And I flew for 3 different airlines in a corporate operation and then got sane and escaped the cockpit. So I like to say they left the door unlocked and I got out. But anyway, in the process, I had written 9 books by the time I got out. So I was making as much money from writing as I was from flying, and I told my wife I've had it with this, and she said, good, it's about time.
Like you, corporate pilots seem to like to find new careers. There's another former corporate pilot around here.
Yes, I know. We had him on the last time.
Bishop Grusz.
Yeah, the last time we were on the air together. So anyway, as an author and a historian, I dig into things, and I had so many facts on that website, and Yahoo shut it off without notice. So what I did is I went back to the back door of the website, and I gathered all the information that I had written there, and I took it and put it on my hard drive and just kept it.
So let me ask a serious question. Yahoo shut your site down, and they claimed you didn't have advertising, which
Right.
is, they wanted to make money. Why not just take all that information and put it up on a different website, on a different platform?
Yeah, I could have done that. And the thing was that I'm pretty busy writing, and making websites is not really my forte. I actually just cobbled that one together, and it ran for 20 years, so I thought that was pretty good. But I said, I'll just go on to other things. And in the process, I've written 3 bestsellers, and I've written 31 books altogether.
Novels mostly?
Nope. I usually write books about Great Lakes maritime history and shipwrecks. So I have 21 books on that subject. I have a 6-book series on spaceflight, and then I have 3 novels now. And then the last book that I've written is it's sort of an autobiography. It's called Non-Standard Approach.
And you're still writing.
Oh yeah, I can't stop. But anyway,
That's fascinating.
with that in my background, I was telling my wife that I've got all this information. I don't know what to do with it, and I said, I don't want to hassle with another website. And she said, why don't you write a book? So, well, looking at the sales possibilities, it's going to be a very limited market. And she said, well, at least you'll get it off the shelf. And I said, you know what? Good idea. So the book started actually last Thursday. And when I get back home from this trip, I'm doing a book signing trip up the coast of Lake Huron into Sault Ste. Marie this week. And then I'm coming back here for the 50th class reunion for my class of 1976 for Freeland High School. So I'll be there for the weekend, and then I'm booking my way back to the East Coast and Shadyside, Maryland, where our house on the bay is and where my office is, and I'll start this book. But the thing with me is, in the Saginaw Gears, is I saw the whole history as it began because I was there. And my mom was one of the first hourly employees that was hired at the Civic Center. She was just a concession person. And then a few months later, my dad got the job as the Zamboni driver. And then I got a job as an usher when I was old enough to do that. So I've seen a lot going on there. And I also got to be good friends with a guy by the name of Bill Pfeiffer. And that is where the story of the Saginaw Gears begin. But the story of why I'm doing this begins with your show back during Oshkosh, where you had Dave Wessner on. And
he was on recently, too, by the way.
Yes. So I know Westy just from phone contacts, and he was also on my website. So I listened to that interview. I was in Oshkosh working for Aero News Network covering Oshkosh and sitting in a van with the windows rolled up and the air conditioner running, listening to your show. And I said, those guys know a lot about hockey and the spirit and all that great stuff, but they're pretty light on where the gears came from. I can cover that turf. So,
well, that's an interesting comment. Where the gears came from. Because from that, I take that they did not originate in Saginaw.
No, not at all. They originated on September 19th, 1969 at the Duluth Civic Center. Ren Blair, who we all know from hockey fame, the guy who discovered Bobby Orr and so on, and he was just the Zeus of hockey. Ren Blair had taken his Minnesota North Stars to the Duluth Arena for exhibition season. They finished their game. Bill Pfeiffer was the assistant manager there. After the game, Ren Blair quipped, "I'll see you next season." And Bill Pfeiffer answered, "No, you won't. I won't be here." And Blair said, "Where are you going to be?" And he said, "I've gotten the manager's job for a new building in Saginaw, Michigan, and I'm going there." And then he said, "By the way, Ren, if you have knowledge of anybody who would like to place a minor league hockey team in that region, let me know." Because part of his job was to find tenants for the building. So Blair kept that in the back of his brain. And, of course, being the hockey guru that he was, he decided that he looked at the demographics of this area with all the factories and all the blue-collar people. And not only that, Muskegon was close, Port Huron was close, Flint was close, 3 IHL teams, and right in the middle is Saginaw. And he said, perfect place. So later on, he gave Bill Pfeiffer a call and said, "I'm coming to Saginaw. Let's have a meeting." And he brought with him this concept for an IHL team. So Bill Pfeiffer, I met him at public skating when the arena opened. The arena opened before the rest of the building did. The rest of the building was still under construction, but they got the arena open because they got 5,000 seats in there. And they need to know if everything works. So they put down the ice for an exhibition game. And after that, they had public skating. And that's when I first met Mr. Pfeiffer. Mr. Pfeiffer was a huge guy, okay? To quote Jerry Clower, the country and western comedian, I was about as afraid of him as I would be a bear, okay? But he got his way, and he knew how to run the building. It was his building. So anybody that crossed wires with Mr. Pfeiffer regretted it. Fortunately, I got on the good side of him, as did my parents. So throughout that era, when things were just beginning, I'd be over at Pfeiffer's house with my mom and dad and my brother and sister, and we'd be having a picnic or a barbecue, or they'd be at our house. The kids would be in swimming in our pool, and we just hung around. Yeah. And then sometimes after events, I'd be in his office sitting with my dad or my mom, and he'd just tell stories about his days and coming up and that kind of stuff. That's where all this stuff with Ren Blair came out. So I knew it for a very long time. And a lot of things, there's been a lot of myths that have come out about the gears, such as the uniform colors. I've heard it, and I read it in Ren Blair's book, The Bird. And just between you and me and your audience, it's a great book. He's a great man, but his ghostwriter did not do his homework. So
few inaccuracies.
Yes, he implies in there that it came from the Miami Dolphins. That's where the colors came from. No. The colors came from the seats in the arena. The color scheme for that was tangerine and turquoise, as were the gears colors. There you go. Pat Shetler, who was one of the early guys that did the announcing for the Gears in that very first season, was also a graphic artist. You want to know where the logo came from? Pat won't admit it, even though I talked to him personally, and he says, well, I did a lot of work on it, but, I'm not going to take credit for it. Pat came up with the logo because in order to present the team to the city council, Blair needed graphics, and he went to his man, who was Pat Shetler. So that's where the logo came from, and that's where the color scheme came from. That's the roots of the Saginaw Gears.
All right, we're going to take a break and come back and talk more about Gears history with our guest, Wes Olszewski, and more ahead.
People don't like me.
Hi, we're back with you, and Wes Olszewski is with us. He is a historian of some note when it comes to the Saginaw Gears, to say the least, and a noted author besides. When we talk about the Saginaw Gears, in my years, and I've watched the Gears because I came here in '74, one name always stood out: Dennis DeRozier.
Rosie.
Was there anybody more noted on that team than Dennis?
No. He was the franchise. Even though there were a lot of players, Stu Irving, who came up, Marcel Como, who stayed with the team and went right through the whole series.
Jean-Marie Nicole, Wessner,
Yep,
Homer.
Right. And but Rosie, first time I saw him was the first game I attended. That was sometime in October of '72.
That had to do with his long hair, Fu Manchu.
Oh yeah. And he come out on the ice, and my dad was there with me, and he said, "You see that guy?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "They call him Killer." And I looked at him and I said, "Okay." And when I told that to Rosie, he thought for a minute and he went, "Gee." He said, "I haven't been called that name in a long time." He said, "When I was in the midgets, they used that name on me." But he said, "Other than that, I never heard it."
Yeah.
I
Well,
said,
there's
"Oh,
a book
that's-"
about him now. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Steele wrote a book. The thing about Rosie, he had two qualities that stood out: his ability to shoot goals and his ability to sit in the penalty box.
Yes.
Those were his two high qualities.
But you can't, unweigh either side.
No, not at all. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the complete
Yeah.
picture.
And but he had a presence as well. When he and I were talking on the phone, and I did his interview for my website. I actually did several interviews with him for the website. And one of the stories, we got talking about our kids, because I had two daughters.
Yeah,
He's got daughters. And he said the way that he met one of their dates was he'd take the guy by the shoulder and he'd walk him to the back door. He'd say, "Look at my garden. What do you think of that with that garden?" And so, "Oh, yes, sir, Mr. Drozier. That's a wonderful, nice garden." He says, "You know why I have that garden?" "No, sir, no." "Easy digging." Have her home by 10.
That would be Rosie. He is a character of the highest and most wonderful quality.
Yes, and when I saw he was coaching the Spirit, I said, "That's the guy."
Well, that
And-
was the first 2 years.
Yeah, and when the Spirit came out, that was the reason for SaginawGears.com, was somebody in one of the news channels was interviewing the Zamboni driver and stated that this was the only Zamboni driver for hockey in Saginaw, which is an absolute fib. My dad drove the Zamboni for the Gears from the fall of 1972 right through until their last game before the franchise folded. And then he drove for the Hawks, he drove for the Generals.
The other nameless groups that
Yes.
were around, yeah.
So that upset my dad. And so I said, okay, I'm going to change that around. So I wrote a big piece on the website about, the son of a Zamboni driver and what Dad had done. That job became my dad's art. And he was a railroad engineer by trade. That was his career. So he'd run the train during the nights because he always worked third trick. And then he'd come back and go do the ice. And I always wondered when the man slept. But that was his thing, was that ice. And we had people that would come from the NHL and would tell us that the best ice they skated on was in Saginaw. Also, when Ice Capades comes to town, they bring their own Zamboni driver.
Yeah.
Well, that guy taught my dad how to do Ice Capades ice. Thereafter, when Ice Capades came to Saginaw, they gave him a vacation. And my dad did the ice for the whole week that Ice Capades was in town.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because that ice plant was a state-of-the-art plant at the time.
Oh, yes.
Push ahead 25, 30 years, and that equipment was old. The pipes were old. Everything was old.
Yes.
And when they put the money into the event center for the Memorial Cup and put in a whole new system, whatever they put in didn't work very well. Ended up with a temporary solution. There was an ice-making truck outside, parked, a big semi that provided the ice, provided the glycol and all that stuff to make ice.
Right.
Until they rebuilt the system again.
Yeah.
Now it's good.
Yeah.
But toward the end of its life, that ice was not great.
Yes. Well,
Had a lot of problems.
yeah, and in the Gears days, that was an important thing. It was Bill Pfeiffer who picked my dad to do the ice. And one of the reasons why he got the job was because there were a lot of maintenance guys who could do ice. None of them wanted to drive in front of a crowd. My dad wasn't afraid of the crowd. He's like,
Why not?
yeah, I'll do it. And so
And
he
that
got
was the
good
days
at
of
it.
the single Zamboni.
Yeah,
now we
that's
have
right.
two.
That's right. And it was the days when that was Walt's ice, period. And Mr. Pfeiffer was the guy who claimed that. That's Walt's ice. And he told him, this is your world, your God. You go ahead and do what you got to do to give us great ice. And there we are. So, and then in the summertime, when he's out mowing the lawn, we used to say, oh, Dad's Zamboni in the lawn. So, which, by the way, is totally against the book for the people from Zamboni. They don't like it when you say those things.
Yeah, well, too bad. So sad.
Now, another thing that went on was before the Gears came to town, they had an exhibition game. And there were two teams. There was a U.S. Olympic team, and there was another team that wore North Stars jerseys, and they were called the Stars. And that was a hodgepodge team that was made up from people that Ren Blair found. They were retired players and some minor league players from Canton and from also Cleveland. And he put those guys together. Some of those guys hadn't even met one another until the night of the game. They're in the dressing room meeting each other. So that's how disorganized they were. The U.S. Olympic team came in, and they beat them 9-1.
Yeah, I was going to say, that would have been easy.
The goaltender for that team was Cal Hammond, who was the first goaltender in the first season for the Saginaw Gears. One of the players that scored one of the goals on Cal Hammond for the Olympic team was Stu Irving.
Oh, really?
Yes, who won a silver medal in Japan, and then also came back to play for the Gears for many, many years, and he became one of the Stars. And so Stu Irving got his reputation at that moment because everybody wanted to see a fight. But these guys it was an exhibition game.
Yeah. Nobody fights an exhibition game.
Except for Stu. In the third period, he got into it with a guy by the name of Gary Geldhart. And the two of them went at it, fist to fist, went into the penalty boxes, weren't satisfied. They got out of the penalty boxes. They went back at it again. And they got thrown out of the game. As they got out of the game, they went at it outside the locker rooms. And which kind of set a precedent for what we could expect when the IHL got to town.
Yeah. Well, and that was when you look at the Saginaw Spirit today versus the IHL back then, fighting was predominant back then. There was a lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
And it had purpose.
Yes, it did.
Today, players are limited to no more than 3 fights, and they're done for the season.
Oh, really?
In the OHL.
Oh, the OHL,
yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's interesting.
3 fights, you're finished, which is why you're seeing so many calls less than fighting.
Yeah, roughing.
And you had a lot more of those. But back in the day, as Rosie tells the story, if one of the opponents ran on one of his teammates, they wouldn't retaliate right then.
No.
They wait till the next game.
Oh, I got a good story about that.
That guy shows up and gets run up real fast.
Yep. A guy by the name of Arcandia that was...
Hold the story, Wes.
Sure.
We'll come back for it because we've got to take a break here. Wes Olszewski is our guest, historian of the Saginaw Gears, and more ahead.
How much money do you think you'll need?
And we're back with you. Wes Olszewski is with us. Talking about the Saginaw Gears and its prominence right through the 70s, early 80s here in Saginaw. And Turner Cup champions, how many times in that period?
Two
Times.
Two Turner Cups. Yeah. Yep. And I was only there for one of them. That was unfortunate. I was down at college learning to fly, and I wish I had been there. That the first Turner Cup, there were so many misses. The second season, they were in the finals, and that went almost all the way. They lost to who was it? It was the Capitals, Des Moines Capitals. And it was a disappointment. But Rosie told me later, he says, Ren Blair told him, "Oh, God, I was wishing we didn't win that one." Why? He says, because when you're a brand new team, it's good to go all the way to the finals because you sell all those seats. But it's not good to win the cup because if you win the cup thereafter, there's no place to go but down. Which was what they did, is they went up and got close in 76, but they didn't win it. And then in 77, they went all the way against Toledo and won the cup here at home. Mario Lessard shut out Toledo that night. So, and I think you're going to be interested in this because since we're on radio, and which is good because I have a face for radio, I have a tape recording of the WSAM broadcast of the entire third period of that Game 7. And thereafter, all the fireworks and all of the shouting and screaming and everything, I smuggled a tape recorder in with me and got there before the game started, of course, and just had it under my seat and started it when that third period started and got the whole thing. So considering that the 50th anniversary is coming up on May 11th of next year of the Gears winning the Turner Cup, their first Turner Cup. So if anybody here at WSGW is interested in the voice of that, you might talk to somebody that was at McDonald Broadcasting or whatever who actually owned it.
Yeah.
And
still do.
Yeah, so I've got it, and it's just sitting right there, and I like to play it in the springtime. It's
What caused? Let's move to the end of the Saginaw Gears, because Ren Blair sold it to. It was never the same after that.
Yeah.
What brought it about? Why did Ren decide that it was time to move on?
Couldn't fill the barn. That's what it came down to.
Did the crowds began to?
Yes, and
diminish?
And this goes right back to the movie Slapshot, where she says the factory's closing, the mill is closing. These people aren't going to have money to come to hockey games. And at the time, we didn't realize that, that was 1977. We didn't realize that the same thing was going to happen right here in Saginaw. The factory's closed.
I moved here in 74, and I think the number was somewhere around 30,000 General Motors employees.
Yeah.
Today, there's well under 5.
Yeah. And you drive through the city of Saginaw. And when I was a little boy growing up on the east side of Saginaw, you could walk out in my backyard there in Sheridan Park on a summer night and look around, and it wasn't dark. There was glow from the factories all the way around, and you could hear this constant thrum in the background of the factories working. And I always thought that was comforting.
And what's interesting, though, is we now have about half the population as when I came here. Now it's down in the 40s. Yet the Spirit can fill that barn.
Yeah. And that is marketing on the part of the Spirit. When I attended my first Spirit game with my kids, I wanted to show them the building where Daddy grew up. And so I had my 2 daughters with me, and I bought them each Spirit jerseys. My oldest one was, I think, 14 at the time, and she wasn't going to wear it. And then she saw everybody else had their jerseys on, so she put hers on, and they loved it, right? But we got into the Blue Line Club. Now, from back in the Gears days, the Blue Line Club was essentially a nightclub.
Yep.
And it was fun. I loved it. I was there every weekend. But now the Blue Line Club was for families. They had blow-up slides, and they had games for kids, and then they had chuck-a-puck during the game, and all kinds of stuff like that aimed at families. It's a family thing now. And when you aim at families instead of just blue-collar workers that want to be able to go after work to the bar the next day and talk about the game, now you've got a broader audience. Now you can fill the barn. And that was the key. That was the undoing of hockey in general in Saginaw.
Well, and the other thing that happened was that, unfortunately, a lot of the ownership of the subsequent teams didn't have a lot of credibility in the community.
Which is true.
And that's the difference as to when Dick Garber comes along and puts his name on the Saginaw Spirit. You now have a credible owner who you trust, and he hires good people.
Yes.
Biggest hire he made was Craig Goslin, who still today runs the team and runs the business side of the team, and created an atmosphere.
Yes, and Dow taking over the
Dow
building.
didn't hurt, and that was all because of the Spirit.
The Civic Center was on its way downhill. That building has to be lived in.
I was chairman of the Convention and Visitors Bureau when the proposal came out for the millage prior to the Spirit, just before the Spirit. And I remember those times very well, very well. But the Spirit came in and did it right.
Yeah, and they are continuing
and they continue
to do it right.
So much so that when they held the Memorial Cup here, the league wants them to do it again.
Yes, absolutely. And
there is a debate now. Are they going to apply for 30 or not? Who knows?
That's adaptability. Okay, if you can adapt your market, you're still going to put bodies in the chairs and the seats. You're going to fill the barn.
Well, nothing like putting a winner on the ice, too. I mean, that helps.
Yeah.
It does help to have a winning team. Because you can see the ebbs and flows when you don't.
Yes, and now keep in mind, just a couple of years before the team folded, they won another Turner Cup.
Right. Yeah.
But it was the demographics to fill the barn that really hurt them. And Al Blade had left long before this, but he came back one day, and my dad was...
Who was the other, Wally Shaver?
There was Wally Shaver.
Yeah.
It was, first of all, it was Al Blade and Pat Shetler that first season. And then Wally came along. Wally lived in a house right near me in Freeland. So he was the only guy that could come to our house, come down in the basement, and beat me at air hockey starting out. The only person. And I mean, we owned an air hockey table, and he was the only person that ever did it. And I figured out it was because he had the eye. He had the eye for where the puck was going to go and for what's going to go where, and he knew it. He had that eye. But when he first got there, he had to show John Posnell his actual driver's license to prove that his name was really Shaver and it wasn't Shaver and Blade.
Yeah.
As a gimmick.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, talking to Wes Olszewski about the Saginaw Gears. We'll also ask him about some of his other books that are available.
Beautiful new floor.
Yes, indeed. Getting to be football season. It's an interesting sports analogy because as baseball wanes, football starts, hockey starts, basketball down the road, and we're all happy if we're sports fans. Wes Olszewski with us now, an author as well as Saginaw Gears historian. Let's talk about some of the books that you have out now that are available.
Well, actually, early on when I was authoring, I asked the publisher, which is Avery Color Studios up in Marquette, should I change my name and write under a simpler name instead of Olszewski? And they said, absolutely not, because if your books become popular, people are going to go look for the long Polish name with an O on it, and they're going to know it's you. Now, that actually comes back because if you go to Amazon, go into books, and type in my last name, Olszewski, I'm the only Olszewski in Amazon books, and my books come right up front. So
Yeah, but everybody's got to know how to spell it. That's the problem.
yes, right. So I usually give people my card and I tell them that, or I say, there's a QR on the back, just scan that.
That's the easy way, huh?
Yeah.
So you're on this book tour for which book?
Actually, these are for my past books. This one is probably for the one that's called Storms and Sailors.
So it's going to be the seafaring books.
Yes, it's going to be the Great Lakes Shipwreck books. And I've got another one called The Witch of November that is not really about the Edmund Fitzgerald. It's about all of the other wrecks that took place on November 10th throughout history. And there are a lot of them. When I told my publisher that's what I wanted to do, he said, "Are there enough?" And I said, "I went into the database. There are 40. He said, "You're kidding me. There's 40? I said, "Yeah, just pick out the best ones." So I've got those, and I've got 2 books on World War II and the Great Lakes that are out. And my bestseller is Great Lakes Lighthouses, American and Canadian. No, folks, I did not title it. So anyway, that one really sells. It's a guidebook, and I wrote it under duress. I was on furlough between airlines, and when my company Avery found out I was not flying, they sent me all this stuff for lighthouses and said, "We want you to write a guidebook." And I told them that's not my style. I write historical narratives. And they said, "Nope, we want a guidebook." And so that went out. And the other one that I wrote kind of under duress was a ghost stories book. Now, that one came out in 2012, all right? Normally, books come out like 2012. They're up on top for maybe a year, and then they slide down, and then they get backlisted. This book still sells to this day.
Wow. And do you know Rick Mixter?
Oh, yeah, Rick and I are good friends. Yeah, we're good buddies.
He's another genius when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, I knew Rick.
TV5 way back when?
Yep. No, before he was even coming up like that, I met him, I think, at a book signing somewhere, and we started talking stuff. And then eventually met him again, and I was doing a thing in somewhere in Cleveland, a divers thing, and I was like the host and so on. And at the before the show thing, he got me laughing so hard I blew my voice out. And so I had to tell the technician, turn the volume way up because I can only talk like this. So, yeah, I know Rick very well, and he's a great guy.
Oh, he's terrific. He is terrific. One of my favorites.
You got to get us on here together.
No, we can do that.
But you got to make it a 2-hour gig because we got a lot of stuff.
We can do that, too. I mean, we can do that on Friday.
Yeah, really. I'll be here on Friday.
Well, it won't be this Friday, but we can. In the near future, we'll have to do that.
Yeah, find a Friday. I'll fly out for that.
Talk about the Great Lakes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you live where now?
I live about 18 miles south of Annapolis, Maryland, right on a point of land that juts out into Chesapeake Bay. My wife and I have a house that's right on the tip of the point, pretty much. The bay is right across the street from us. You can stand on my front deck and throw a rock and put it in Chesapeake Bay. Now, it takes 34 tries, and you have to do it in the fall when all the leaves are off the trees.
Wes, listen, it's been fun. We'll have to do this again, and we will get here with Rick. He'll come up.
Absolutely.
Wes Olszewski, we thank him much for being with us today. We thank you for joining us. News is next, and then we'll be back.
Mid-Michigan homeowners, this